They whispered about you when you were broken. They laughed when you fell, certain you'd never rise again. To them, you were just another failure, another forgotten soul swallowed by the world. But the truth they never saw is the war you fought in silence, the sleepless nights, scars hidden behind your smile, the fire that burned while no one believed in you. Now, the same people who doubted you are trembling at the shadow of your success. Because what they don't know, what they could never imagine, is that your victory was built in the dark, born from pain they could never survive. This is the truth behind your rise, and once you hear it, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Stay with me till the end, subscribe, and like this video if you're ready to uncover your hidden strength. They didn't just doubt you, they buried you beneath it. Every look, every whispered word, every mocking laugh, it pressed down on your chest until it felt like you couldn't breathe. Doubt isn't just a passing thought. It's a prison built by others, brick by brick, until you start believing you belong inside it. You know what it's like to walk into a room and feel the weight of their unspoken judgment? To sense that every move you make is being measured against the possibility of your failure. And maybe the worst part isn't what they said. It's how their disbelief became a voice inside your own head. That quiet poison, that constant question. What if they're right? What if I'm not enough? It's not just their words you've been fighting, it's the version of yourself they tried to create in your mind. The smaller you, the weaker you. The one who accepts defeat before the battle even begins. But here's what they don't understand. Doubt is heavy, yes. It crushes, it suffocates. But under that weight, something else happens. You start to feel the pressure building in ways they could never imagine. You begin to realize that if you don't fight, if you don't resist, you'll disappear completely. And that realization is the first spark of defiance. You see, doubt can do one of two things. It can bury you, or it can forge you. And when you've carried it long enough, you discover a fire that doesn't burn for their approval anymore. It burns because you're tired of being defined by the limits they placed on you. It burns because you refuse to let them write the ending of your story. Think about it. Every laugh behind your back, every person who said you couldn't, every door that was slammed shut, it didn't kill you. It sharpened you. Their disbelief forced you to dig deeper, to find a strength you never would have needed if the world had simply believed in you from the start. And maybe that's the twisted gift of doubt. It shows you what you're truly made of, but only if you're willing to push back against it. The weight you carry isn't meant to crush you forever. It's meant to teach you how to stand taller, how to move through life with a backbone forged in resistance. Because once you've survived doubt, once you've fought tooth and nail against every voice telling you to give up, you realize something powerful. Their doubt was never about you. It was about their own fear, their own limitations, their own reflection of what they could never become. And when that truth hits, the war inside you shifts. You stop trying to prove them wrong. You start proving yourself right. You stop seeking the light in their eyes and start creating it within your own. That's the moment you cut through the noise. That's the moment the weight doesn't hold you down anymore. It becomes the very force that propels you forward. And when you finally rise, when you stand in the success they said you'd never touch, you'll look back and realize something they never saw. You didn't succeed in spite of their doubt. You succeeded because of it. Failure feels like the end. It feels like the ground giving way under your feet, like every effort, every sacrifice, every sleepless night has been wasted. You stand there staring at the wreckage of your attempts, and the silence is unbearable. No applause, no comfort, no sign that it was worth it. Just you and the crushing thought that maybe you're not good enough. Maybe this is where it stops. But that's the lie failure tells. Because failure is not an ending, it's a fire. It burns through your illusions, your shortcuts, your false sense of certainty. It strips you down until only the raw, unpolished version of you remains. And as brutal as it feels, that's the forge where strength is made. Not in comfort, not in easy victories, but in the furnace of everything that went wrong. Think back to the times you fell the hardest, the plans that collapsed, the moments when you thought you had nothing left to give. At first, it felt like ruin. to look closer. In those very moments, you found pieces of yourself you didn't even know existed. A grit you didn't ask for. A resilience that only pain could carve out of you. Because here's the truth. Success doesn't teach you much. Comfort doesn't transform you. But failure forces you to decide who you really are. Will you break under the weight? Or will you use that heat to reshape yourself into something unrecognizable, something stronger? Every breakdown was building you. Every rejection, every defeat, every door that slammed in your face was a hammer striking against the steel of your spirit. At the time, you thought it was punishment. But now, you can see it for what it really was. Preparation. The fire that hardened you for battles far greater than the ones you were losing. You see, there is a version of you that could never be born in success. That version only emerges when you're stripped of everything. You're standing in the ashes wondering if you can take another step. And then you do. That step becomes the proof. That step becomes the moment the forge has done its work. Failure isn't there to destroy you. It's there to reveal you. To burn away the surface until your core is exposed, unbreakable, undeniable. And the reason so many people stay the same, the reason they never rise, is because they run from the fire. They see failure as a wall, not a forge. But you've walked through it. You felt the burn. And even when you didn't realize it, it was shaping you. It's molding you into someone who can withstand storms that others would. Collapse under, so the next time you look back at your failures, don't see endings. See the furnace that forged you? See the nights that turned your pain into persistence? See the scars that became your armor? Because when the world looks at your strength now, they won't understand the fire you endured to build it, but you will. And that realization is the breakthrough. That's the moment you understand why you had to fail. Because every single collapse was secretly the construction of the unshakable force you are. Becoming there comes a night when the silence is too loud. A night when you're staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep, weighed down by everything you've lost. Everything you've tried, everything that never seemed enough. It's not the noise of the world that breaks you in those hours. It's the emptiness. The thought that maybe this is it. Maybe this is all life will ever be. That's when the war inside you begins. Not outside, not in front of anyone else, inside. It's the night you start questioning whether the fight is even worth it. You feel the pull to surrender, to finally give in, to stop pushing against a life that only seems to push harder against you. And no one's there to talk you out of it. No one's coming to save you. It's only you and the choice sitting heavy in your chest. That's the night most people break. They fold into the silence. They let it smother their will, and they tell themselves it's easier this way. And for a moment, it does feel easier. Giving up always feels lighter at first. But deep down, you know what it really is? A slow death. A quiet surrender of the life you could have lived. But for some, that silence does something different. For some, it becomes unbearable, not because it's empty, but because it exposes the truth. It shows you what you're really made of. And in that unbearable stillness, you find yourself reaching for something, anything, to fight back. That's the moment you light the match inside. Not because you're fearless, not because you have all the answers, but because you refuse to leave your story unfinished. That night when you chose fire, nothing around you changed. The bills didn't vanish. The pain didn't dissolve. The weight didn't disappear. But you changed. You stopped waiting for someone to rescue you. You stopped looking for permission to rise. You took the ashes of who you were and decided to burn brighter than the doubt, the fear, the silence, and it doesn't feel like victory in that moment. It feels raw. It feels fragile. It feels like you're clinging to a flame that could go out at any second. But it's enough, because that flame is proof that you still have fight in you. It's proof that you're not done yet. And as small as it feels at first, that fire grows. Every time you get back up, every time you push one more step forward, it spreads. Until one day you look back and realize the night you thought would end you was the night you began again. The silence that was meant to break you became the place you found your fire. And the life you're building now, the strength, the resilience, the defiance, all of it was born in that moment. when no one was watching, when no one believed, when it was just you and the choice to rise. So remember this: the night you chose fire wasn't just another night. It was the night your real life began. They didn't just doubt you, they mocked you. They whispered when you walked out of the room. They laughed at your failures. They pointed at your scars as if they were proof that you'd never rise again. And betrayal, you know what that feels like? The sting of people you trusted turning their backs, leaving you with wounds that cut deeper than any stranger's words ever could. Those shadows followed you everywhere. They sat with you in silence. They crept into your thoughts at night. They made you question if you would ever be free from them. And for a long time, maybe you carried them like chains. Maybe you believed those voices. Maybe you felt their betrayal as a weight too heavy to lift. That's the first lie the shadows tell you: that they own you, that they define you, that they are stronger than you will ever be. But here's what the shadows never expect: the moment you decide to stop running from them, the moment you turn around, face them head on, and refuse to let them dictate the meaning of your story. That's when the shift happens. Because pain has a strange power. Left unchecked, it can consume you. But when you claim it, when you own it, it transforms. It stops being a chain and starts being fuel. Think about it. Every cruel word, every moment they tried to break you, every time they doubted you, all of that lives inside you. And you have a choice. You can let it rot, let it keep you bitter, let it convince you to give up. Or you can set it on fire and let it drive you forward with a force that no one can stop. That's the secret of turning shadows into power. You don't erase the pain. You don't pretend it didn't happen. You take it raw and unfiltered, and you use it. You let their betrayal sharpen your focus. You let their mockery harden your resolve. You let the very things that were meant to destroy you become the reason you refuse to stay down. And here's the part they will never understand. The more they tried to bury you, the deeper your roots grew. The more they tried to wound you, the thicker your armor became. The shadows they thought would break you only prepared you for battles they could never fight. That's why you're dangerous now. Because your strength isn't borrowed, it isn't fragile, and it isn't dependent on anyone else's belief. It was built in the dark. It was carved out of betrayal, stitched together with scars, and fueled by every moment they tried to keep you small. So when you rise, when you move forward with unstoppable momentum, remember this: you didn't escape your shadows, you turned them into fire. You didn't hide from the pain, you used it as fuel. And that's why nothing can hold you now. Because you are no longer running from what hurt you. You are running with it. Faster, harder, unstoppable. That's the truth they'll never admit out loud. They gave you the very power they feared you'd find. There's a kind of silence that cuts deeper than words. The silence of realizing no one is coming. No one's checking in, no one's standing beside you, no one's carrying even a fraction of the weight that's breaking your back. You look around and the people you thought would be there aren't. Their absence is louder than any rejection. And the loneliness feels unbearable. At first, isolation feels like death. You question your worth. You question whether your life matters to anyone at all. You scroll through your memories, wondering if you gave too much, trusted too easily, believed in people who never truly saw you. That emptiness eats at you, and it's tempting to fill it with noise, distractions, shallow connections, anything to escape the hollow sound of your own breathing in a room where you're the only one left. But isolation is deceptive. It feels like abandonment, but in reality, it's a mirror you cannot turn away from. With no one left to impress, no one left to lean on, you're left face to face with yourself, stripped of masks, stripped of excuses, stripped of the comfort of outside validation. And in that raw encounter, something begins to shift. You realize how much of your life has been spent depending on voices that were never meant to carry you. You see how often you looked outward for strength, when the truth is, it was always inside you, waiting to be uncovered. It's a brutal lesson. It hurts to admit that the support you craved may never come. But in that hurt, You begin to build something far more powerful than dependence. Self-trust. Because when you've sat in the silence long enough, you start to hear things you missed before. You hear the quiet resilience beneath your doubt. You hear the whisper of persistence beneath your fear. You start to see that you are capable of standing without applause, of moving forward without permission, of carrying your own weight when nobody else shows up, and that realization doesn't come with fireworks. It comes slowly, like a dim light pushing back against the darkness. But once it's there, you're never the same. Because the strength born in isolation cannot be shaken. It doesn't rely on approval. It doesn't collapse when people leave. It doesn't vanish when the world turns cold. It's yours. It's unshakable. So yes, isolation hurts. It breaks illusions you didn't want to lose. It forces you to confront truths you'd rather ignore. But in doing so, it frees you. It frees you from the chains of needing to be seen to exist, from the constant hunger for validation that never truly filled you anyway. What isolation teaches is simple, but devastatingly powerful. You are enough. You, with all your flaws, your scars, your mistakes. You, without the noise of others defining you. You in your rawest, truest form. And when you carry that truth out of the silence, you're untouchable. Because you no longer fear being alone. You've met yourself in the deepest dark. You've discovered that even there, especially there, you are capable of surviving, of rising, of continuing forward. That's why isolation isn't the end. It's the teacher you never asked for, but the one you needed most. They will look at your success and call it luck. They will point at your achievements and tell themselves you had something they didn't. Maybe they'll say you were born with it. You were handed opportunities they never had. But deep down, you know the truth. It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was discipline. And not the polished, glamorous version people like to imagine. It was the kind that breaks you. The kind that strips you of comfort. The kind that demands everything and still asks for more. You didn't wake up motivated every day. In fact, most days you woke up tired, unmotivated, ready to quit. But you moved anyway. That's what nobody sees. They see the results, but they don't see the nights you stayed awake while everyone else slept. They don't see the mornings when your body screamed to rest, but you still stood up and did what had to be done. They don't see the 1,000 silent choices you made, the choice to work instead of escape, to sacrifice instead of indulge, to keep going when your own mind told you to stop. Discipline is ugly. It's not glamorous or inspiring when you're in it. It feels like loneliness, like grinding your soul against a stone until sparks fly. It feels like missing out on the easy joys of life, because you know you are building something that requires more from you than comfort ever could. Discipline demands a price, the price of your old self. People won't understand that. They think discipline is about control, about rigid rules. But it's deeper than that. Discipline is a war between who you are and who you want to be. Every time you repeat the same routine, every time you sacrifice something small for something bigger, you are cutting away the weaker parts of yourself. You are chiseling yourself into the version that can carry the weight of your dreams, and that process is brutal. You will question why you're doing it. You will wonder if it's worth it. You will watch others laugh, celebrate, waste their days without a care, and you will feel the sting of missing out. But here's the dark truth. Greatness isn't built in the sunlight of comfort. It's built in the shadows, in the repetition, the relentless grind that nobody claps for. Discipline will not reward you instantly. It will take and take and take until you think there's nothing left to give. But then, slowly, it transforms you. You look back and realize you're no longer the same person. You carry a strength others don't. You've developed focus, resilience, and endurance that can't be faked or borrowed. You've built a mind that does not bend under pressure because it was forged in pressure. And when success finally comes, they'll still call it luck. They'll still pretend it was easy for you. But you'll know. You'll know the price you paid. You'll know the nights you sacrificed, the pain you carried, the temptations you denied. You'll know it wasn't luck that brought you here. It was the discipline to keep going when nobody was watching, when nobody was cheering, when nobody believed. That is the dark truth of discipline. It doesn't just shape your achievements. It shapes you. It breaks you down, remakes you, and leaves you standing taller than the version of yourself that once doubted if you could ever make it. And that's why. Discipline is feared, avoided, misunderstood, because it demands everything. But if you have the courage to pay that price, you will carry something no one can ever take from you, the unshakable certainty that you built yourself, piece by piece, in the dark, until the light had no choice but to notice. There comes a moment when the noise fades. The voices of the doubters, the critics, the ones who laughed at your scars, they no longer matter. Because the truth is, it was never about them. It was never about proving them wrong. The battle was always between you and the reflection staring back at you. Pain has a way of forcing you to face yourself. It strips away the masks you wear to survive, the excuses you whisper to feel safe, the illusions you build to protect your pride. Pain does not care about your stories. It doesn't bend to your comfort. It holds up a mirror. And in that mirror, you see exactly who you are when everything is taken from you. You see the weakness you've tried to ignore. You see the fears you've been running from. You see the habits, the lies, the patterns that have chained you for years. And in that raw reflection, there is nowhere left to hide. That's why pain feels unbearable, not because of what happens to you, but because of what it forces you to see within yourself. But here's the part most people miss. That reflection isn't your punishment, it's your chance. Pain reveals the truth so you can finally stop pretending. It shows you the version of yourself that is fragile, but it also reveals the version of yourself that can rise. It introduces you to the parts of you that don't break, even when everything else does. Think about it. Every time you survive something you thought would destroy you, what happened? You changed. You shed another layer of who you thought you were. You discovered strength you didn't know existed. Pain didn't just scar you, it carved you into someone sharper, someone clearer, someone more real. And yes, it hurts. It always hurts. Growth isn't soft. It doesn't arrive with comfort or ease. It arrives with nights where you question if you can take another step. It arrives with mornings where you carry the weight of yesterday and still choose to stand. But as brutal as it feels, pain is also honest. It shows you what no one else will. The distance between who you are and who you could become. That's the mirror of pain. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't lie to you. It tells you the truth, even when that truth cuts deep. And if you dare to face it, if you dare to accept what it shows, you'll find something extraordinary. You'll find that beneath the broken pieces is a core that doesn't shatter. You'll find that the person staring back at you is not a victim, not a mistake, not someone defined by suffering. You'll find the version of yourself powerful enough to rise. So no, it was never about proving them wrong. They were only shadows in the background. The real fight was always with the reflection. And when you finally face it, when you finally stop running, you'll see the truth. Pain was never your enemy. It was the mirror that showed you who you really are, and that reflection, raw, scarred, unshaken, is where your power begins. There are moments when you think the fight is against them. The ones who doubted you, the ones who mocked you, the ones who walked away when you needed them most. You tell yourself that every step, every sacrifice is about proving them wrong. But deep down, you know the truth. It was never about them. It was always about you. Pain has a way of cutting through the noise. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't soften. It doesn't let you escape into illusions. Pain is the mirror you never wanted to look into but couldn't avoid. And in that mirror, for the first time, you saw yourself without the disguises. You saw who you really are. That's why it hurts so much. Because pain strips away the versions of you that were built to be liked, built to be safe, built to fit into expectations. It takes those fragile pieces and shatters them, leaving you alone with the raw truth. And that truth is hard to face, because it exposes not only your wounds, but also your strength. You see the patterns you kept repeating, the lies you told yourself to survive, the fear you hid beneath confidence, the weakness you thought no one noticed. Pain reveals all of it. It forces you to stop pretending. And in that terrifying clarity, you realize something. The reflection you avoided was the key to becoming more. Because when everything is broken, when the layers are gone, when there is nothing left to hide behind, you finally meet the version of yourself that doesn't collapse. The one who keeps standing even when the world turns its back. The one who doesn't need applause, doesn't need approval, doesn't need validation. The one who survives. That's what pain does. It doesn't just wound you, it reshapes you. It sharpens your edges. It burns away the illusions until only the strongest parts remain. And yes, it feels unbearable in the moment. Nights stretch endlessly. Mornings feel heavier than your chest can carry. But with every breath you take in that fire, you're becoming something no one else can touch. And suddenly, the need to prove them wrong fades. Their voices lose weight. Their judgments lose power. Because you realized they were never your enemy. Your real battle was always with the reflection, with the parts of you that were too afraid to step into the truth, with the shadows you didn't want to face, so you stand there. In front of that mirror of pain, and instead of looking away, you finally meet your own eyes. And what you see is not weakness. It is not failure. It is not someone defined by what was lost. What you see is the core of who you are, unbreakable, it's undeniable, unstoppable. In the end, it wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about seeing yourself clearly. And once you do, once you meet that version of you forged in the fire of pain, you understand something life-changing. No one can take this strength from you. No one can define it, no one can diminish it, no one can own it. It belongs to you. And that reflection staring back at you, scarred, tested, but still standing, is the proof that you've already risen. There comes a moment in your journey when the noise fades. The voices that once filled your head, the critics, the doubters, the people you wanted so desperately to notice you, they no longer hold power. In the beginning, you craved their approval. You wanted someone to say you were worthy, someone to recognize the work, someone to validate the struggle. But over time, you realized something much greater. Your rise was never theirs to acknowledge. It was yours to claim. Silence has a weight most people run from. They can't sit in it without reaching for distractions, without seeking applause, without proving themselves again and again. But silence is where you find out if what you've built is real. It's where you discover whether your confidence is rooted in your own spirit or in the shallow comfort of being seen. You've felt the loneliness of walking without recognition. You've questioned yourself in the quiet hours, wondering if the sacrifice was worth it, if the battles meant anything without someone there to cheer. That doubt is natural, but it's also a test. Because what matters is not whether the world claps for you, it's whether you can walk through the silence and still stand tall. And that's where the crown is found. Not in headlines, not in celebrations, not in empty praise. The true crown is invisible, and it rests on your head the day you no longer need permission to exist as you are. The day you stop shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. The day you refuse to dim your fire for those who can't handle the heat. This crown isn't given. It's earned. It comes from every night you chose discipline over comfort. From every morning you rose when exhaustion told you to stay down. From every battle you fought in silence, without witnesses, without recognition. It is built from scars that only you know, sacrifices only you remember. That crown is heavy, but it belongs only to you. And when you wear it, something shifts. The need to prove yourself disappears. The comparisons lose their grip. You stop chasing validation because you no longer require it. You don't rise for applause. You rise because rising is who you are. Success becomes less about the noise outside and more about the fire within. That's the quiet victory most people never experience. The strength to stand alone. The peace that comes when you no longer beg to be seen, but choose instead to simply exist in your power. That silence, once heavy, once unbearable, becomes your crown. And when you finally wear it, no one can take it from you. Because the loudest proof of your success isn't in the words they say. It's in the silence that no longer shakes you. It's in the unshakable confidence of knowing that you are enough, with or without their applause. That is the crown of silence. And once it rests on your head, you never bow again.